It's Hullin Daf Amud Aleph, 21 lines down. Mativ Rav Sheshet. Rashad had a question against what we said earlier. If Rabbi Yohanan and Rabbi Shimon Lakish. Rabbi Yosef, because Rabbi Yosef said in the Mishnah, Kav v'chomer adbrim, we have a kav v'chomer. Uma b'makom shema Shabbos Abed Nashim. Since we see that the wrong intention makes Kedusha animals pasul, and hakol ahad ha'aved, and still, it only depends on the person doing the avodah, not the owner. So in the case where intention does not make it pasul, like by a regular non-hekdesh animal, ain't no must be everything goes up to the slaughterer, not the owner. Torah says, "My and what do you mean the intention does not ruin it by the non-hekdesh animal? Even if there's no pasul at all, that's not possible. Unless if you have the how would you have a case if a guy slaughters without the zrah? That'll be pasul. Obviously, the intention makes it pasul. The Pshita, Avdal is referring to that you can't make one service pasul for a different service. V'achei Kamar is as follows. Because we see from Kiddusha, Hekdesh, Bet HaMikdash, one Avodah intention can ruin the second. And yet, in the Kol Alecha only go into the Kohen doing the service. So regarding non-Kedosh animals where there's no intention from one service to different service, because there isn't more than one service, it also goes according to the slaughter. Now, panim kasher bishum lagish. What do we see from here? From the fact that we said that intention regarding to another's avodah, we also makes a difference in kedusha and non-kedusha animals. That what? The intention can ruin the kedusha animals, but not holy animals. That's against Rabbi Yochanan and Rabbi Shimon Lakish. Why? Because if he says this stuff about inside of the Mikdash, kasher Rabbi Shimon Lakish, the question of Rabbi Shimon Lakish, because he hold intention for another avodah does not make a puzzle. Holds kasher Rabbi Yochanan, according to Rabbi Yochanan, he holds non-kedusha animals no intention to he holds intentions make holy animals pasul. You just said it doesn't. The says Bishlam not the Rishon Lakish, like Krishna say against Lakish, because I'll tell you how make me Rishon Yochanan. That was before he heard Yochanan's opinion. How the Batash Yochanan, this is afterward. He agreed to Yochanan after he heard it. The house kasher Yochanan was according to what we just said regarding the outside, the non-Kedosh animals. Question is Yochanan. He asked it, then he answered it. What do you say? This is referring to intention that he has during the four services of the Beit HaMikdash. Eina kol halech achar avodah, and those four services of slaughtering, receiving the blood, bringing the blood to the Mizbeach, and throwing it on the Mizbeach, that is where the intention from one service can ruin the next. Eina kol halech avodah goes according to the person who's servicing. In the case of non-kosher animals, where the intention can only ruin two services, which is slaughtering the animal, and if you're throwing the blood of Avdazah, must be that it goes after the slaughterer. And Tanak bring the proof according to Yachna. If you're slaughtering the animal intention to throw the blood or fast for Avdazah, that is considered Avdazah Korban. Someone slaughtered an animal and then he had intention to throw blood afterward. Said case 3 has happened once in Syria. But they were not they didn't make a decision with Mutar Asur. Marv is the why. They didn't say Asur because of our Mishnah, the Hamim who said it's not of automatic Dazra. Lo Hater Mishum it's in Mutar because we also held that it is Mutar. So it is Asur, sorry. Be mine. Then I say, why do you say like that? Maybe maybe Hachamim did not say that Hachamim said that we don't assume that it's for Avodah Zarah, only where we don't know that he's doing it for sure. But over here, where you know this Jew, this rebellious Jew is having intention to do for Avodah Zarah. Oh, he also follows the Torah. So therefore, we see that the what he did conclusively shows what he had in mind in the beginning. Therefore, you don't have to say, oh, out of respect for Chacham. In maybe you say the opposite. Ad kan lokum Rabbi Elazar hatam el legabe Chachamim. The Bezer maybe said that you assume Avodah Zarah only by a goy. This tam hasher Chachamim la Chachamim because that is tam Avodah Zarah, a random Avodah Zarah, a goy rather, is from Avodah Zarah. But over here regarding the rebellious Jew, oh, he also thought we don't assume that his conclusion was from the beginning, and therefore we don't say automatically that since he did it now for Avodah Zarah at the end, that means the beginning is Avodah Zarah as well. So basically, we said that proof we try to bring, but either way, it doesn't make sense. El Marab Shizvi. No, Amruba Hatem Mishum Kudan Shalom Gamliel. The reason why that is mutar because the Rabban Gamliel who says that you can rely on the conclusion to show the beginning. Higher than that. Where do we see that Rashbag holds this? Either Rashbag the Gitin, maybe one is being proved from the Halacha Mishram Gmarami Gitin. The Tanakh says, Habari Shamar Ktizvu Gedeshis. If a guy, healthy guy said, "Where to get for my wife?" That's how the Hegba. He probably just wanted to tease her. He didn't say give it to her. ومع Risham Art from the certain story about a healthy guy who did it. She tried to get for my wife. Vayala got an apartment and he went to the roof and he died. Jumped from the roof and died. Amar Ashbag, if he died by himself, he committed suicide, it's a good get. The Maruach Tahato in Negeb, if he did the win question, it's not a get. Now, we asked over there, Mazel the store. Why would you bring a story that contradicts what you just said? Just said that a healthy person is not. Why does it know that? Then when you explain that Mishnah says there's missing words and you have to explain it as follows. If the conclusion shows what he's thinking in the beginning, how does it get? It is a good get. That's the story. I really shamar people get ishti, but Allah gaga na hamed man mishbag. You ask me how that father get. You know, ruach tahano in get. Right. So we said that's how he explained the Mishnah. Now, if the guy's healthy and he says right to get, we don't assume he wanted to give. He wanted to tease. If the guy over there committed suicide, we assume that he was like a guy who was sick, who was going to die. He knew he was going to die, therefore he said right to get. Okay. So your Rashbag says that you go according to the conclusion of the incident to show what the intention was in the beginning. It's like, okay, now 1 second. Maybe over there is different because the guy said right to get. But in our case, we don't know what he did in the beginning. You know what? I'm thinking a different proof of Rashbag. Mishum with Rashbag, dealing the Acha, this case. Tan writes that someone writes over his possessions to someone else. Says, I want my friend to get all my possessions. But you and there were slaves there. He said, I don't want the slaves. If the second master was a Kohen, they could eat terumah, the slaves, because they still considered owned. Rashbag Omer, Kevin Shamar Hala Iya Sheben. Once the guy, the receiving guy said, I don't want them, Kvar Zachu Behen Yerushim. We look at it as if the guy who gave them away, his family inherited them. And they can't have slaves. Yes, let's not come according to the first opinion. I feel like even if he's standing and saying he doesn't want them, he still gets it. No, but about he's protested in the beginning. They call him a look, kind of everybody would agree that if he protested from right away, everybody agrees he doesn't acquire it. But if was Tzavach, he was quiet and he protested. They come out the kind everybody agrees that he already acquired them. Where someone transferred it through somebody else. Right? So I handed Reuven a document that said all my possessions are going to Levi, and he was koneh for him. And therefore what? Then he was silent at first, the receiver was silent, then he protested. Tanakan the first opinion holds. Once he was silent at first, he acquired it. Now that he's screaming, he was trying to change his mind. But as Bag was no. Oh, he asked about it, we see that the conclusion reveals the beginning. Why did he not process in the beginning? Because he was thinking, Kilo, as long as they don't come to me, why should I protest? Once they came, he's like, no, I didn't want you guys. So that's the case of that we see that Rabbi Shbag goes according to the end to prove the beginning. Okay. We see that the intention of the owner has no effect on the animal. These Arab guys who came to Sikunya, they gave rams for the Jewish shohet to slaughter. They told them, the blood and the fats are us, for Avodah Zarah, and you can have the hide and the flesh. What's halacha? Okay, does it make the whole animal pasul or not? He answered him back, said that the owner has no intention, only the butcher, and therefore the butcher does not have intention of the Zarah, and therefore it's mutar. What if the guy gave a coin to the Jewish butcher to buy a piece of the animal for Avodah Zarah? Amalei says then, we see. If the goy is someone very powerful, he can't just say refund him and nullify it. The animal's asur because he's going to be slaughtering an Avodah Zarah animal or a piece of it. He's not powerful. He's a here's your mountain, here's your head, here's a mountain, Yanni, go fly a kite, I'm not doing it for you. Meaning, so basically the halakha is a sort. New Mishnah, Ashar Ayat, L'Shem Harim. Someone slaughtered an animal for the sake of a mountain. L'Shem Gva'od, for the sake of a hill. L'Shem Amin, L'Shem Harot, for the sake of the seas or rivers. L'Shem Darov, for the sake of a desert. Shehil Musal there is Pasul. Shnaim, and usually though, there's no such thing as Avodah of stuff in the ground, but we'll see why. Shnaim Achzim Zakim Shahatim. Two people held the knife and they slaughter animal together. Echad Hashem, Echad Mikol Elu. One intention to slaughter for any of these things that we said before. Ve'echad Hashem Davar Kasher. Another person for a good reason. Shecheb Zazav is still pasul, even though one guy did not have the bad intention. Rochalam, men.